Sitting down today with Claudia Rishu. Welcome to Lever Up. We've had a little bit of a hiatus as we've been head down on a couple of near-term opportunities, but super glad to have you on Lever Up. Really glad you're here.
I am so happy to be here. I'm so excited for this conversation. It's going to be so fun.
So do me a favor. Let's tell everybody your story. Give me the pithy version about your background, and we'll just go all over the place.
Yeah, so I grew up military brat. I was always super nerdy, always nose in a book. I got more into STEM in early high school. I actually developed an obsession with particle accelerators. I was a weird kid. And by the end of high school, I was programming. I was doing cybersecurity competitions. I actually built parts of a particle accelerator at University of Maryland with a professor there. And then I went to Chicago. I started out math and physics, and then I realized, okay, physics PhD does not make that much money, does not have that many career opportunities. I'm very likely to end up an experimentalist instead of a theorist. So I switched to math CS. I did a lot of internships through college, was very interested in cryptography and cybersecurity, got super into cryptography, like the mathy stuff. I worked some jobs in that. And then I spent some time in crypto doing like blockchain security research, which was really, really fun. I got to work on a project where it was like DARPA affiliated research. I got to do very, very cool cryptographic research. Working in that space, I eventually spun out a encrypted cloud storage company of my job, and then did that for a couple of years, learned a lot of things about business, and then now I'm here working on Supply Co, where I'm the CEO, and we are building marketing and sales software for the industrial segment, which we'll go into later.
You're speaking my language, so let's dive right in. Tell me about Supply Co. What problem are you guys solving, and what attracted you to that space?
What attracted me to that? Do you want me to go over that first, or
wherever you want to take it? What attracted you to
okay,
space?
Great. Yeah, so I was in the ashes of the previous business venture, and I was looking at what do I want to do next. I was looking at startups that I liked. I noticed myself feeling really jealous all the time of all the manufacturing startups of SpaceX. I was like, oh my God, they're launching rockets into space. They're building physical things. Flexport was really exciting. I mean, I've learned more about it, but at the time I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Cargo is so cool. My brother's in the merchant marines. He was doing real things like defending shipping routes, which are so important. I was seeing all these things in the news where I'm like, I don't really understand the underlying mechanics of why this thing is happening in this way. So a lot of things just kind of came together where I was like, I want to do something in logistics, supply chain, or manufacturing because I want to do something real. I want to do something impactful, and I want to understand this massive part of the world that's so important to history. So I just started talking to people. I just started touring ports, truck terminals, warehouses, factories. I toured a lot of stuff in the auto supply chain. I traveled to do this. It was like very intensive for a while, read everything I could, talked to everyone I could. And then eventually we iterated through a couple of ideas. And then I realized my background software, I need to start where I have a lot of leverage, where I can create a lot of impact very quickly. So that's probably something with AI right now. And that's honestly, so I came to sales and marketing eventually because that's a very information heavy space where I don't need to I've worked in a machine shop with my like physics stuff, but I'm not a machinist, I'm not an expert. So I need to work somewhere where I have a home turf advantage, that's sales and marketing, because I have experience with that. And so we decided to double down there, and our product idea really came from talking to people who have these problems and just hearing from them like, oh, prospecting takes a lot of time. Our sales process is very intensive. These are very big leads. And so we actually analyze large variety of data sources about their leads to help them target the right customers, help make sure that their salespeople are spending time with the right people, help make sure that their salespeople are getting in front of the person the second they are in the market, because closing, that's how quickly really matters, and making sure they just like deeply understand their customers so that they can sell better to them. And this is a product that we developed in partnership with people who are sales leaders at OEMs, which is the people who are building the giant $1 million or like hundreds of thousands of dollar equipment that's on the factory floor. And we're hoping to expand after this, but yeah, we're happy with the software product and the value it's providing right now.
So are you looking at this, it's one module inside of like a potential manufacturer, like a system of modules? Because I heard you say
like in terms of like a software suite. Yeah, I think that we will probably expand into other software offerings in the future. Like we're seeing there's definitely a lot of value with processing RFQs and standards and government contracting. Like there's just a lot of data that goes back and forth in the sales process. It's very technical. You need a lot of technical expertise to go through it. And we're like, maybe we could automate horrible, boring, tedious 60 to 70% of that, the same way that we're doing with lead research, where a salesperson would go spend half their week prospecting, clicking through websites and databases. There's a lot of things like that in this space where you're just having to go through a lot of technical information. The sales engineer should be solution engineering. They should be talking to the customer. They should be handling the things that are not easily automatable. So I think that there's a lot of similar opportunities to what we're doing right now. Also procurement we're interested in.
So it's super interesting you say that, because like my playbook in industrials, if I wanted to grow sales, was to go steal somebody's book of business. I'd hire a sales rep that had a book of business, and I'd try to get them to walk their customers across the street. It's very expensive from a customer acquisition cost perspective, but I have tried 3 times to hire a marketing for a B2B marketing firm, and they all had a really good pitch. And there was always a lot of cash swept away from the company that didn't amount to anything. I'm very interested to see how you can apply this. So that's nobody is running over to the industrial space. Well, if 5 years ago, nobody was running to the industrial space. I am hearing or seeing little fingerprints in Silicon Valley of people kind of creeping back into industrials. What is driving that?
It's really cool. I think a lot of the SpaceX stuff and like the Tesla factories, they look really shiny. I think that a lot of software engineers are having a bit of a crisis right now, especially with AI automating a lot of their jobs. I think a lot of people, it's really sunk in. Like, what do I do? Oh, I changed the corners of the button to be a little bit more rounded. I think the market is very flooded with B2B SaaS. Like it is rewarding. You are making people's lives better. But I think that a lot of technical, intelligent software engineers, they got CS degrees, and they're kind of like, where do I fit into the value chain? They're seeing that that part is very small. Their impact on people's lives is a bit small. And I think that a lot of people, they just see the value. Like it is really cool. Like they have robots. That's awesome. But it's also like everything in your life. And we're realizing that more after COVID and after the Evergrande plugged the Suez Canal. People are like, this stuff matters. Like the rails that my life runs on are no longer invisible to me. And they're very interested to learn more. So I think that there's the American dynamism thing that a lot of these VC firms are talking about too. Like there's a lot of patriotism. You see Trump, he's wanting to revitalize America's manufacturing base, or he's talking about it and he's implementing policies that kind of gesture at that. We could, but like, it's like in the news, I think it's in the collective unconscious, like people want to make real things. And so people are getting driven to that. I've seen a lot of startups get funded that are basically rebuilding manufacturing from scratch. Like Hadrian's really cool. They're building like a lights out factory. I, should know more about them than I do, so don't ask me any hard questions. But like that's awesome. You see Tesla, you see SpaceX, you see Anduril, and those are all like really exciting and flashy. We're obviously doing software. We're not so exciting and flashy. I think we're pretty cool, but not in the cool video footage way. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of software engineers are just like, wow, like I want that in my life. Like it brings me a lot of satisfaction to get involved there.
There's nothing that makes me gives me more energy and keeps me from checking my phone and play with my phone than going into putting steel toe boots on and going into a factory of a type I've never been to before.
It's so cool.
It's I had a paper mill locked up in Canada at the end of 23, or close to locked up, and it's I hadn't been in a paper mill in 5 or 6 years before that, and this one was especially interesting. And it's just like my CEO was like, "Well, I've never seen Paul act like this." And it's I was like crawling under there with the flashlight, and I looked around. But yeah, I think I've been to 200 factories in the last 15, 20 years. It's interesting. So second point, I was sitting down with a back-end software developer over a drink in New York, and I asked her, why did you go into this? She's like, well, I just thought it was going to be so stable. And it was like a money ratio to like stable income that was good and lifestyle. And it was kind of like at the vertex or epicenter of everything that was good. And that's suddenly gone. Say more about that, because I've gotten this question a couple times with a comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so I came to software engineering and computer science because I liked it. I liked playing with the computer. I liked solving puzzles. Like I would program for fun. I started programming when I was 11. It's always been a fun thing for me. I came to college. There were a lot of people who were doing CS as a pre-professional major almost, and like the passion wasn't always there, which I think it made me kind of sad to see them, honestly, because I did it because I loved it, but the classes were not for them. Like they would get an absolutely brutal assignment and it was not fun. But like I understand. There was so much advertising for so many years about learn to code, you'll be stable forever. And like that did really seem
Yep.
real. Like I did not expect the LLMs to be able to code this well this quickly. Like I was trained them in a class in 2019 when the Transformer, like shortly after the Transformers paper came out, 2018. Yeah, I don't know. But like it was spitting gibberish at me. It was, obviously translating, but code is so highly structured. There's so much logic involved. I think a few people expected this, but certainly not so quickly. I think it's definitely been a big psychological adjustment for engineers. I've worked with people who have not wanted to use the code automation. And I think, I mean, it's like really sad because like for a long time, like you were told, like everyone said there was never any question about it. Your engineering skills are in high value, you're very high value. Like all of tech was set up to really prize the engineer. And like your manager would treat you like royalty, the recruiters would treat you like royalty. It's like there are these coding boot camps where everyone was encouraged to go drop everything and learn to code. That's not the case anymore. The skills that are valuable is, they talk about this on Twitter a lot, like product engineering. Like you need to have some business and customer sense because it's so, except for the really, really deep, really technical stuff where the AI is honestly getting shockingly better very quickly. There's a lot of things that 2 years ago it couldn't do that now it can. So even more highly senior engineering jobs are getting automated. But the thing that it can't automate is business sense and taste. Like it will go off the rails when it's reasoning about that.
Yep.
Maybe that's solvable. I don't know. But like engineers with product skills, I think will continue to have a good spot in the market. Nobody's been encouraged to develop that. It's a rare skill set. And I think that the absolute number of engineering jobs is going to go way down. A lot of people are going to have trouble finding work. That's going to be tragic. There's going to be a lot of sad stories coming out of that. I am sad about it because it impacts a lot of my friends. I don't know what to say other than economic movements cause chaos and it's sad.
Yeah, but technology's never caused a net job loss, and I get so sick of
That's true.
Ever, right? Agrarian jobs were 60% in the mid 1800s. They're at 5% now. To get to 5 or 10%, whatever it is, it took 75 years. I'm not saying it's not going to go slower than that, but we created more jobs in that time. My more penultimate example is the assembly line, where everybody's like, oh, this isn't going to have any more car assemblers. You actually need more techs to fix the line, and you've got more parts coming in. Automation. Where do software engineers go? Because it's were they like picking, to use the farming metaphor, were they plowing the field by hand, and then the combine comes in and the auto plow and do the but the workers had to go they went to the factories, right? Let's just be honest. The farmers went to the factories, right? Where do software engineers go?
I think still software engineering.
Okay.
I think that there will be a lot of software I think that I'm kind of speculating wildly, but
for sure,
I think that QA is going to be a significantly increased role, especially with AI. There's some things that the AI will miss that a human is not going to miss. Just anywhere where like human taste and emotional intelligence comes in, AI is not. And like anywhere where like deep understanding of a problem and common sense comes in, there is going to be some level that the AI, which is, predicting next token, it will map closer and closer onto those deeper concepts. But I think that it's still going to continue to miss like the things like at the bottom level of intuition. So I think probably more senior people will go ultra technical. People who had a bit more of a producty role will go more product engineering, where they're more leadership facing, more customer facing. And then I think a lot of the like more low skill roles will drift heavier QA instead of front end development. All of this assumes that there's going to be a need for a lot more software built, and that there's going to be like the economics of that entire stack of business is going to make sense, which I am not sure about. But the changes that we've seen in the past 2-3 years have been so just shocking in the way that things work internally. They've been very unpredictable. I don't know how to predict what's going to happen.
Well, nobody's going to get it right.
Exactly.
If I go over to like where is AI LLM going to affect? I think about an attorney, and I call this the attorney problem. You learn to be an attorney after you graduate law school by reviewing documents for periods and commas and looking at clauses and going over that. Now I flash forward, I can say produce me a letter of intent in a document in AI and go it out, and I can do it by myself very, very quickly, right? And it's very helpful, and it probably cuts my time. Probably cuts 90% off my effort and time. Given that, though, how do I train a new person? So I call this the attorney problem. How do you make a partner attorney that doesn't go up that landscape and that stair step to get to that partner level knowledge? I don't know how to solve this problem. Ostensibly, it could solve with AI, but it's a super interesting topic around, I don't know, labor productivity and management, because senior people could lay off all their associates making this up. Not that they would if they're a law firm, and they would be okay, but eventually then the business just dies, right?
I totally agree. I think that we've seen this in other industries where there's been some automation and then you have a skills crisis because
Yeah.
for some reason you don't need juniors for anything. I'm like blanking on examples, but like I've seen this in other industries before. I mean, I think we're just going to hit the skills crisis and then we're going to have training programs is probably what's going to
Yeah.
happen because yeah, like me going through the like get your 10,000 reps in of I had to go write an
Yeah.
operating system. I had to go write a scheduler. I had to go write a file system. I had to go write a compiler. All of these things were horrible. I banged my brain against them for very, very long, but I am very good at understanding how the guts of the computer work now. And that is absolutely instrumental in debugging because the AI will get you 90% of the way there. And then the last 10%, like everyone jokes about, oh, I love vibe coding, which is using the AI to just float something together, but I hate vibe debugging, which is the AI did something stupid and I don't know how to fix it. Well, I have a very fast intuition for how to fix it because I know how the computer guts works, but someone without that intensive training does not have that. And so the last 10% is 90% of the work that's going to continue to exist. And unless you've really, really gotten your reps in, which is a problem because the standard computer science assignments that would make people cry before are now 30 seconds in AI and they don't even have to get their reps in.
I want to go to like
I don't know.
use this. I want to go to use a startup CEO, but first I have to ask this question. Does this somehow from a software development, like entrepreneurship, does this make it easier for someone that's got a SaaS startup to not have to ever take venture money?
Yeah. Oh, we run so lean. Like the way that I manage the business is so much leaner than a standard SaaS business. We're seeing legacy SaaS businesses that were founded 10, 15 years ago, and they have such high headcounts, and all of their operational processes would completely fall apart if they did a layoff and tried to restructure in an AI native way. Like that would just be such a cost. I mean, it would probably be worth it, but it's like they would lose so many customers because so many things would fall through the cracks. Whereas we're natively building with all of these workflows, automation before hiring, very, very lean, very, very AI first. And yeah, we should talk about that later because there's this like tiny teams movement of people who are getting millions of dollars in revenue with like sub 10 people, which is only possible now due to AI.
It's interesting you say that. I've got one of the assets I have locked up right now is manufacturer that they don't even use QuickBooks and they're millions of revenue, and 8 digits of millions. And my message, I'd rather have no tech than bad tech.
Yeah.
And so I get to go put in what I want to put in. I'm clearly going to be done. It's almost like that. If you were set up for the kind of high headcount intensive model, like disentangling that and going to like a leaner teams model, you can kind of scrum with yourself and one other person, right? It's like
you definitely can. We do.
It's so fascinating. Okay, let's pivot over to startup leadership because I don't have it all day. Talk to me about like when you're of the tasks you have to worry about. It's either fundraising, operations, sales, product development. Which one of those four, or if I'm missing a secret fifth one, which one of those gives you the most energy?
What were the options again?
Fundraising, operation, sales, customer connections, operation or product design. Like which product development, which gives you the most energy?
It's the intersection from sales to product design gives me the most energy. I'm super into psychology. I'm super into user psychology. I'm super into empathizing with user behavior. That gives me a ton of energy. So the selling is a bit stressful for me still, obviously. I'm introverted, but the tail end of that, where we really get the customer requirements, we understand them deeply, and then we figure out the best way with software to map software onto those workflows in a highly empathetic manner that will be very, very ergonomic to the user. Usability, Nielsen Norman Group, early Apple, all of that stuff, I am huge fangirl over. I had a huge reading period about UX design and user psychology at the start of last year, and now it just gives me so much energy. I enjoy it so much. It's such a amazing creative outlet for me. And it's really fun because with the AI, you get to go from thoughts in your head, you get to go from words a customer said to thoughts in your head to something you can actually click through in like hours. And it's such a dopamine hit.
My favorite thing is my prompt for is give me a metaphor to explain X, Y, or Z.
Hmm.
And it like that will, it's like, that's like, I don't know, like nitrous oxide for my brain. I get one metaphor cooking and it just starts. I mean, just 10,000 other ideas, 10,000 other ideas come in. Okay. So energy there. You got
Yeah.
to sell. What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? You have to sell. So what do you do to, let's say, pump yourself up and get motivated to go sell and go talk to customers, even though it's not a preferred task?
It's definitely not pumping myself. It's more prepare. Like I think my co-founder is sitting behind me. He does the very like, whoa, yeah, go, go, go. I give myself structure so that I don't start feeling lost or scared during the sales calls. I'm big on preparation. There's this book. I was about to grab my copy, which is usually sitting right here. It's actually sitting over there because we were talking and reading through it last night. It's Founding Sales by Peter Kazanji. They give it to every participant in Y Combinator, and it is the Bible for how to do B2B SaaS for people who aren't coming from a sales background but need to do sales. And so it really gives you a map of like everything you should be doing. I also want to shout out PMF Camp by Rob Snyder. It's like
What?
PMF Camp, Product Market Fit Camp.
Camp? Okay.
Yeah, it's 5K per, I think, organization or person that joins. It is so worth it. And he has a lot of free materials as well. So that was like a boot camp that we did to learn to sell that audited our sales process and gave us a lot of structure and kind of tells you what to do for every single call. And then also Founding Sales. Whenever I have a question, whenever something feels weird in the sales process, it's covered in that book. And so I give myself a lot of structure. I give myself a lot of education. So I kind of know exactly what to do at every step. I've read a bunch of sales books. None of the names of them are coming to mind right now, but all the classics. And then I actually, right above my laptop, I'm looking at it right now, I have a call structure doc that tells me, like if I'm blanking, if I'm freaking out, here's what I say next. So I approach sales calls in a much more relaxed, friendly manner. I'm like not trying to hard sell. I'm not getting myself hyped up before. I start with build the rapport, make the friendship, get to know the human in front of me. And then I move through understanding their problems. I move through saying, okay, well, that sounds like a problem we can solve. It sounds like this other guy we solved it for. It's a very natural flowing conversation because I've done my homework and because I'm like properly taking the time to understand the other person and connect with them properly instead of trying to sell something that doesn't make sense. The fact that I'm really solving a real problem that they actually have makes the conversation so much more comfortable, and it means that I don't have to get myself hyped up. And then the structure for closing and moving people through the pipeline, once again, I don't have to get myself hyped up. I just go in and I execute my plan. And so that's made it a lot less bad. And also just getting your reps in. Like I've built confidence over time. My first sales calls, I wasn't selling. Like I literally was not selling. I was just like, let's have a conversation for half an hour. Oh, why didn't that close? Then I go watch it. And I'm like, that wasn't a sales call. That was a friendly chat. And so the feedback
Okay.
was uncomfortable, but then we fixed it.
So let's pivot to the other side. Steel man this for me. Fundraising is not selling.
Fundraising is selling. What do you
I
mean?
wanted you to steel man for it. Why would fundraising not be selling?
Well, you're selling a different product, but you're selling. Like
You sell.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to steel man
I,
that. I think it's just factually incorrect.
I
You're
was
selling
leading.
your company.
I was the way I've coached people to this. I was leading into. I'm just telling my story. I'm excited about my vision, and I'm just telling my story, so I don't have to sell. That's
But
where
when
I.
you're excited about your vision, you still have to understand that the person you're fundraising from, like they want to feel a certain way, but they also want to feel that you are solving a problem for them. Like there's a reason they're investing, and it's because their fund has some KPIs that they need to hit, and they think that you might or might not fit into that. And you need to get that across. And part of that is being compelling about, I am a competent founder. I have done my research in this market. I am excited about this market as someone who takes myself seriously and knows a lot about this market, knows a lot about business, and has the skills to execute. And you have to get them pulled into that excitement. But it's the same as selling. Like, I need to convince the prospect this can solve your problem. This is going to solve your problem. It's going to solve your problem competently. I believe in that. I am trustworthy, and let's go use the product together. And so, yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a lot more loosey-goosiness because it's a high-risk investment. It's venture investment. You are selling something that does not fully exist yet. But that's kind of the same as our earlier sales calls for design partnerships before we had the product built. We were like, do you want to go on this fun journey with us to help us build the product with us? And then, you're selling the future instead of selling the current. So I guess like the level of loosey-goosiness and emotions that are involved is it's like, are you selling something that's more tangible or less tangible?
Yeah, that's where I get is it. Are you selling? Are you talking about features of something that exists, or are you talking about the world that could be at a future state? So
Which
one
is
of the things,
also what you're selling when you sell software, because it's like, this is what your life will be when you use the software. Like I can't show you that, but we can imagine it together on the call.
yeah, that's the funniest side. The best SAP implementation was the CEO taught all his employees the German words and did absolutely no customization. I mean, like the de minimis amount of customization, and made everybody learn German, and it went pretty well.
That sounds really fun.
I think everybody was so worried. Everybody was so worried about not being able to understand. They were immediately compliant, not pushing back. Look, just so everybody knows, we're recording this on Friday, April 11th. I've had the most engaging week of my career. My phone has rang off the hook. People asking me tariff questions. It's been. I mean, this is my Super Bowl from a manufacturing
I'm like,
perspective.
exactly. No, I go to dinner parties and I'm like everyone's like talking about tariffs. And I'm like, I sell to manufacturers and I ask them questions about tariffs. Would you like to hear the report from the trade show?
I got a call. I got to sanitize this. I got a coffee with an infrastructure investor yesterday, and apparently she'd given multiple 100K to an advisory firm to give to tariffs, and the content they provided was very non-committal to any outcome, and I would say was torched a couple $100,000 on the advisory fees.
Unfortunately, I think recently there's been more clarity, but also less clarity as the negotiations have happened post tariffs. I was at a conference for management in the machine tool and machine shop industry, like executives and leaders, about a month ago. And so that was when there was like noise about reciprocal tariffs, but absolutely no clarity about how they would be implemented. It really matters for this industry, both in terms of machine tools and in terms of supplies that you're buying, and like, will the machine shops you're selling to go under? And they brought like 4 different economists and policy people and lobbyists on stage, and all of them were just kind of like, the slides were like, we don't know, and we're stressed. And the audience was like not taking it much better than I expected, but still seemed quite nervous. And the reciprocal tariffs hit while we were at the last conference, which everyone was just kind of like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
It is steady state to steady state. The tariff action likely not accretive to the overall consumer, the businesses, even the country. The transient and watching people, we're in a situation now where we're literally setting up a supply chain in Mexico, and to extricate something from China, and then you're like, it's like on a game of chicken where the tariff's going to end up. Now it's like, look, I'm not going to give you 99% certain. I would be highly surprised if long-term tariffs stay in place between Mexico and Canada. I knew the NAFTA agreement much better than I knew the one that was inked in 2020. I would be highly surprised. I've been surprised before. I've been wrong before, however you want to call it. It's a super interesting idea. We could talk about tariffs for 2 hours. So one of the things, so as we pivot over to like startup culture, when you're growing your team, beyond somebody who can do the job, what do you look for in the qualities of people that you hire, and how do you think about developing them?
So obviously we're going for much smaller teams, and every individual has to be much higher autonomy because there's just so much more you can get done with AI. So you need to be able to come up with ideas for how to fill your day, and you need to be taking bigger bites, which means that you need to have more decision-making ability. So definitely the intelligence needs to be there. We're moving so quickly that it's so much easier to bump into each other and like step on each other's toes. So the emotional intelligence, the conflict resolution ability, and the ability for me and them to both give a 1-sentence quick feedback. Like, we don't need to sit down. It doesn't need to be a high anxiety thing. There doesn't need to be 3 weeks of hard feelings after I give a piece of hard feedback. It's just like, okay, got it, move on. I have the confidence to change this and keep moving, not going to freak out. So that's really, really important, is maintaining that healthy feedback culture so that we can just keep moving fast without any problems. I think a good network is really important because we're looking for these autonomous fast movers. So it's like, I know somebody who can solve this problem, because we are now relying on external service providers, and like when we're hiring, that's really important. So I do care about the good network. I care about someone that has the confidence to call me out when I'm wrong and knows how to deliver that in like I'm not going to sit on it and become resentful and then like blow up at you. I'm just going to give the feedback. I will fix it. It's not a huge thing. I like being able to learn from people because that's just you want them to be enjoyable to work with. The way that we've been hiring is honestly like finding someone with these qualities, then vetting that they have these qualities and coming to trust them has been easiest to do from my network, and then with a nice long trial period, which not everyone's open to. That's not the move for everyone. It is something that I just really want to have, is like that long paid trial where we get to know each other and make sure that you're a perfect fit, because we're going to be working so closely together so much. And the way that we've been approaching this, you're going to laugh. We've started throwing bi-monthly pizza parties where we try to get people to bring their startup-y friends. And so we'll get to know people through those, get to have a couple interactions, get to see who are your friends, like what are you like in conversation, and then if we're interested, we'll like talk to people. So that, I mean, those have also just been fun, very cheap way to like build startup community in New York City, but also it's definitely had that undertone. Shout out if you're in New York City and you're looking for a founding engineer or like a revenue ops role, get in touch with me on LinkedIn and I will invite you to Pizza Tuesday and you can come hang out. That is not a promise to hire or interview you, but start hanging out and we'll see what happens.
I have my developer friend that I met. I should introduce you to.
Absolutely, that'd be awesome.
She's at a question mark. She's very personable. I don't know how she survives every day back in software engineering. She's so extroverted and so people facing.
That's what we're looking for. Like that's what you need now. Like when I said product engineer, I wasn't joking. That's how this role looks now.
It's. I think she'd be highly credible too because she's in back end and stuff, and I know nothing about that. Let's take it back up. You said conflict. Can you give me an example of like some disagreement you had, and like walk me through the process in the team? What did you disagree about? How did you give feedback, or they give you feedback, and like how did that end out? I want to talk about what a healthy culture looks like.
I can give a good one and a bad one, I guess. Okay. And I'm going to like sanitize this a little bit.
For sure.
In the last iteration of the company, and everything is management's responsibility at the end. It's all my fault. Everything is my fault forever. But we were not hitting our sales numbers at any stage of the pipeline. The pipeline was not set up well, but also we were selling something that was not destined to have product market fit. And needed a lot of work. And the way that got communicated across teams, I'll give a good example and a bad example, sanitized, of course. So a bad example is sales team was having a bad time. Sales and BD was having a very bad time selling a product that was not oriented well towards hitting product market fit. And then product and engineering stayed quite siloed. It was my job to communicate this across, but me and sales were not strong enough with product and engineering. Okay. And we let them, we did not get the really critically bad data across quickly enough. And so eventually when I do start pushing hard enough and saying, it is time to make significant roadmap changes, including potentially throwing all the code away, which is where we did end up, that was spicy. That was really, really spicy. People were like, why can't we just ship it? Why shouldn't we continue spending all this money on this engineering team and on this like very high budget, very technical product development? I think that definitely I could have done more to facilitate that communication having been easier. But also in the future, I would like to hire people who, even if I fuck it up as bad as I did last year, in terms of not clearly getting that like critical piece of information across with the appropriate amount of this is a 5-alarm fire as soon as I can. I would like just to have people who go, okay, so now what? Instead of, oh God, oh God, oh God. And okay, like let's face this crisis very, very quickly. And in terms of like now, I'm working with my co-founder. Yesterday I came in at noon after running a bunch of errands. That was very cringe of me. He comes in very early and I'm a bit of a later start person. I feel like we emotionally processed that pretty quickly. And I was in at 9 and working at 9:45 today. And I intend to do that going forward. So that like, there wasn't the like brewing resentment felt like, I think it lasted days, if not hours. And then like no tears about it from me. I'm just like, I own that. I need to come in earlier. We need to be working the same hours. Like even if our output is the same in whatever hours we work, like it's important for us to be there to like make each other feel supported while we're grinding on this stuff. So I think that's better. I've given him hard feedback too, and like haven't felt afraid to do so. Like there's never been so much underlying like, oh God, he's going to blow up when I say this. Like that's not there. And I want to keep that culture. I want to never be afraid to say, hey, you're scaring the juniors, or hey, I think the roadmap is on sideways. Like like just saying like something shit, you should redo that. Like that should be easy to convey
Yep.
and fearless, and there shouldn't be any big feelings about it. So keeping that alive is the most important thing ever,
If,
because otherwise
if
the
I could,
startup just starts going off the rails.
if I could give you one piece of unsolicited advice, you can preserve that till you get to between 60 and 100 people. After 100 people, it's very, very hard to do. I don't really know why. My hypothesis is after 100 people, keeping the bar of A players becomes
Hmm.
increasingly difficult to
Yep.
do.
Yep.
And people start playing politics.
Absolutely.
People said, so it's that would, and I'm the, like, I'm the terminal, I'm the optimist that's terminally pessimistic, right? Like I'm the guy that predicted 9 of the last 3 recessions, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
it's
Same.
like, so given that, like you've learned how we've unpacked you and your style a little bit. Tell me about a time in your founder journey, because admittedly, I just started my founder journey. I didn't start my founder journey until I was 42,
Oh, wow.
and it is the weight of thinking about other people's rents and mortgages, and like
Hmm.
you have to sell to do everything. I've never had that weight on me before. And I've had thousands of people work for me. Talking about a time during the founder journey that goes up and down. Did you ever read the book The Dip by Seth Godin?
No. Should
I'll
I?
send you the link, but it's like the moment before that feeling you get is not the moment before defeat. It's the moment before victory. Tell me about a time like when you felt, I'm not going to say despondent, but you were like, why am I doing this? What brought you to that spot and how did you get through it?
There have been
So many.
so many, so many. A lot of them have been personal because I do care so much about the people on my team. And then caring about their well-being has come into conflict with my fiduciary responsibilities to the business
Yeah.
over and over and over and over again, in 800 million ways. And that has been heartbreaking and difficult every single time. And that has put me crying face down on the floor, honestly, multiple times. I started my founder journey when I was 23 years old. I was a baby. I was a high, I don't think that I was high ego in every way, but I certainly was in a lot of ways. And I was really high ego about the engineering and the technology is most important, which put us on a super crash course for failure. I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know who to hire. I didn't know what roles to hire for. I didn't know what divisions there should be in a startup. Like it was, so there were so many mistakes, and a lot of people got jostled quite severely in my mistakes. And so I have to own that. And then on top of having to own that, I will have to fire them, or I will have to give them really, really hard feedback because I in a certain way. So all of that was extremely, extremely difficult. And it makes you feel like an awful person. And you're being like the enemy villain in somebody's life. You are messing their life up when you make a mistake. And so it's very, and they're right to be angry at you. Like it's not, it really doesn't feel good. So coming to terms with that, with the fact that I have to have the fiduciary duty, I have to make as few mistakes as possible. That's like a very high pressure role that I've definitely had to like do a lot of personal development to be ready to take that responsibility. And I don't know, it's like been a lot of growing up. Like I've felt like I've had to gain an extra decade crammed into the past 3 years of maturity, of emotional maturity, of being ready to own my mistakes. And I think part of it is just taking the hits and getting through it and resolving to do better next time is like a big part of it.
I think a lot of things in my career prepared me to do this, but I also think there was no amount of preparation I could have done to understand everything. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I had no preparation. Like, it didn't really hit that I had to make revenue. Like, at first, I was like I raised on a cool idea. And then I was like, oh, shit. Like, I can't just write like a fun engineering toy. So that was like, I really knew nothing. I thought marketing and sales was unnecessary because we would build something cool. People would realize that it was cooler and they would just come. I didn't know. I incorporated my company and I made it an S Corp, and then I had to turn it back into a C Corp. And I raised my first round without actually having legal counsel. I hand redlined and then chatted with a lawyer who was not actually retained by the company. It was awesome. It was, yeah, awesome. Good job, Claudia.
Oh,
I was doing a great job at the start. I was Googling a
so
lot.
good.
Like the amount that I've had to learn in the past couple of years has been truly, truly staggering. But yeah, I don't think that anything can prepare you. My co-founder has a lot of preparation because he went to proper business school. He went through CDTM, which is this great German like startup training accelerator thing. So he worked at McKinsey. So he's got like a lot of exposure to the inside of enterprises, whereas I was like a hacker, freelancer, I've been an intern a couple places, but like really focused on my technicals and not on my business schools. He's a lot more prepared, but I mean, I've also like seen him learn and grow a lot on the job very rapidly. So it's a totally being like open to dying of exposure from like raw, unfiltered capitalism puts you in a place that you will just never get in a job. That level
Yeah.
of autonomy is not something that a lot of people experience in their lives, and you're gonna have learnings no matter what.
So there are a lot of product people out there, engineers, and hey, the disruption and maybe we'll need less engineers. Do we see more startups? What happens to that? What if one of those that says, hey, I think I'm going to get disrupted, and screw that, I've always wanted to do this. I'm going to jump now. It's the most people don't change because they see the light. They change because they feel the heat. If they start to feel some heat, they jump in. What advice would you give them as they're getting going?
First off, you should do it. You should jump. This has been the most rewarding, amazing, growth-inducing experience of my life. I am a significantly better person than I was when I started this company in almost every single way. It will transform you. People are different once they do this. It's so good. You should do it. I encourage everyone to do it. But the thing that you need to do is not get swept up in all of the glamour and noise of, oh my God, Steve Jobs, he had a vision, he was going to change the world. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, that's a very glamorized storybook, genius narrative of like something that probably was not reality. Like, most of these founder stories are like super, super glamorized to kind of like valorize and turn it's a hero narrative. It's fun to read, not reality. What you need to do is you need to go talk to customers. You need to assume that you are going to go build a cool toy. Like, assume that even after you've talked to 100 customers, because you're an engineer, because you're a product person, you're going to go build a very cool toy that's very cool, that's too technically articulate, and probably doesn't meet their business need, and you've spent way too much money not meeting their business need. So talk about your vision when you need to have the glamour with the VCs. The VCs love the vision, but what you need to do is talk to the damn customer. And like, I'm looking at the Nielsen Norman Group usability heuristics that I have taped to my wall, and it's like, interfaces should not contain information which is irrelevant, blah, blah, blah. A minimalist three-legged stool is still a place to sit. So it's like,
I love that.
solve the problem, get them to give you some damn money, and then think about the rest. Like, if you want to raise a mega round and play that game, okay, but it takes the pressure off of you to do the right thing, and there's a good chance that you raise that mega round, set it all on fire, and then you're very sad in 4 to 5 years because you've paid yourself a startup founder salary. So just like, be careful, make sure that you're meeting a market demand, make sure it's sustainable. Playing the big like narrative hero games, the people that you see right now doing that in the news, they have connections, they have PR teams, they have things going on for them you don't even understand yet, and you don't have them. So if you're a little guy raising a seed round, like, go talk to a customer.
Did you see in the news yesterday somebody raised like a $2 billion seed round off a $10 billion valuation?
Yeah, that's Mira Murati. She was like the chief technology officer or the CPO of OpenAI. You and your seed round aren't that.
Why do you need $2 billion, I guess, is my question.
This is above my pay grade.
Fair enough.
She probably does. She's probably going to use it well, but it's probably for like really, really good go-to-market or really good R&D. I don't claim to know the specifics of that deal, how it went down, anything. I don't know anything. Above my pay grade. I am talking to customers. I am chopping wood and carrying water. Thank you very much.
I freaking love it. All right. My gut says everybody like you toils over this question. You can only pick one. What is the most impactful book you've read, and why should someone on your path pick this book up?
Ever?
Only get one. You can't say I got 2 good ones.
Because I wrote down 4 when you told me.
I know you did. I know.
Okay, so I'm so between 2. I'm gonna go spicy with it. I had, and I think a lot of founders have, the thing I typed in this doc is sucking chest wound of a God-shaped hole in my life. And I had rationalized myself into atheism. I grew up very Catholic. I have been practicing Jewish for several years now, but at some level, I was like, I can't believe I'm too rational. How could this exist? Like the paradox about how can God be good when there's so much evil in the world just tripped me up. I came back to, I won't say religion because I've always been like practicingly religious, pretty much always. Like there have been only short breaks from that in my life, but I came back to like actual faith and spirituality in the past year or so. It had been kind of brewing for a while. And so the book that I'm bringing in, not the Bible, not the Torah, I'm not going to do that to you, is actually Carl Jung's Red Book. And he talks through this analogy. He calls it God in an egg, which is a vision that he had about how you bring God back after you've understood all of these like very rational arguments for why there can't be a God. And it's basic, it's like very like psychologism, like it's actually inside of you. Like, I don't know, like I'm not going to try to explain it well, but that was what got me to get over my rational brain and start having a much more of spirituality. Like it got me to get over myself and just come back to that. And a lot of my vices, problems, insecurities, things that I was making myself very miserable with just kind of ironed themselves out once I no longer had an existential black hole sitting there being the undertone of everything that I did. I feel like I come to everything that I do in a much more positive way instead of a much more negative way. So you asked, I never bring this up unless someone seems excited about it, but I think that, and then also all of the Jung stuff that I've read afterwards, has been incredibly impactful on me, has changed my entire mindset, and I feel there are no atheists in foxholes, and a startup's kind of like a foxhole. And so I'm very glad that this happened to me in the past year or so.
That's you had me at sucking chest wound of a God-shaped hole. I was like, that's the storytelling. I was hooked at the beginning. Okay, where can everybody get in touch with you? Where can we get in touch with your startup?
Probably LinkedIn is best. Just like DM slide me, and I may or may not respond depending on how compelling the thing you say is. I post a lot on there, so follow me. Yay.
Okay.
And then supplycode.ai is our website. I think reaching out through there might currently be broken though. So if you're interested in the product, like just come to me or my co-founder Yannick Wiedenhaupt on LinkedIn. And that's a good way to reach us.
It was super nice talking to you today. I could have made this last 3 hours. We could have went Rogan long. We'll have to do this again at some point.
I'm super down.
I'm rooting for you. If you need anything from manufactured supply chain, please talk to me. We'll love to run a pilot at when the timing's right.
Super excited. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. This was so much fun.
Thank you for joining us on Lever Up. We trust today's conversation provided meaningful insights into private equity and entrepreneurship. Stay connected by subscribing to our podcast for upcoming episodes.